you hear me?
And you can put that, yeah, never mind, you're fine.
Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready, go ahead.
Okay. Meeting is called to order. This is a public hearing of the Bonner County Zoning Commission. Time is 5:30 p.m. The date is October 19th, 2023. We're on the third floor conference room of the Bonner County Administration Building on Highway 2. Meeting is being recorded and streamed live via Zoom. This episode is brought to you by Datsun. Test drive a new Datsun pickup truck today. Like what you see here, please click the like button, and if you don't want to miss future episodes, subscribe and ring that bell. Silence your pagers, digital watch alarms, personal digital assistants, and other electronic devices. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
We're over here.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the commissioners, starting from my left, please.
Commissioner Clark here.
Commissioner Webster here. Commissioner Marble.
Mr. Wakely here.
Anybody on the phone?
Commissioner Weimer on the phone.
All right, we have
I can hear him.
a quorum with 5 commissioners of 5. Is there anyone in attendance that needs help to hear me? Anybody online besides you? Are there any changes to the agenda tonight, commissioners, staff members?
Not necessarily. We had put on here a discussion for file S0002-23. 2 days ago, we did receive a reconsideration for that file, so now it's still back into a I wouldn't say pending, because it's up to the board on whether or not they want to hold another hearing. I don't see, it's not really possible for them to send it back to the zoning commission. So if you guys want to discuss it, you can. If you want an abundance of caution and put it on for next month, we can do that as well. But we do have a pretty heavy agenda for next month for you guys. So,
Okay. No change to the agenda. We'll proceed. Minutes from our last meeting held September 21st, 2023 are made available for the commission review. Does any commissioner or staff member care to correct those minutes? Minutes are approved under the consent agenda.
I do have one announcement though.
Go ahead.
So just as a FYI, it might be a why are we meeting here tonight, right? So 676504 under section C says this is as to how often the zoning commission or planning commission need to meet. So at least one regular meeting shall be held once a month for not less than 9 months out of the year. So we have to hold these meetings per local land use planning act, so LUPA, which is what governs land use in our state, at least 9 times. So I think we missed 2 meetings earlier this year, and given we're coming up to winter again, I thought let's make sure we get our 9 in for the year.
Didn't we always have one a month at least?
We have. I think we didn't have one in January or February, if I remember right, because we didn't have any files. So we didn't schedule any. And just in case we get snowed in or something happens, I want to make sure we're meeting LUPA. So I'll just state that's essentially why we're here. So we have a couple agendized items that we do need to discuss. One specifically of election of chair and vice chair or re-election, or however you guys want to do it. And that was actually supposed to happen last month per our by the bylaws for the zoning commission, but we'll do that tonight. So
Okay.
that's my only announcement.
All right. So for our agenda tonight, we'll start with election of chair and vice chair. Anybody care to volunteer for chair for the next 12 months? Somebody else wants to, that's fine.
I approve.
So typically you want to I nominate so and so and so and so, right? So if you want to just nominate a chair and a vice chair, if you guys, I think right now it's the Mr. Marble and Mr. Webster are chair and vice chair. If someone wants to make a nomination to continue those two, that's fine. If you want to just, Mr. Chairman, if you want to just run it as chairman first and then vice chair as a second round, you can do that. So
Anyone care to nominate a chair? Make a motion to nominate a chair. Okay, we have a motion. I would second that. Motion has a second. We'll have a vote from my left, please.
Commissioner Clark, aye. Commissioner Webster, aye.
Commissioner Marble, abstain.
Mr. Wakely, aye.
Commissioner Weimer, aye.
Motion carries with 4 in favor and 1 being adjourned. Vice chair, anybody care to nominate a vice chair? I'll nominate Luke again, did a fine job.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a nomination or a motion and a second, so let's have a vote from my left, please.
Commissioner Clark, aye. Commissioner Webster abstained.
Commissioner Marble, aye.
Mr. Wakely, aye.
Commissioner Weimer, aye.
Okay, motion carries with 4 in favor and 1 being adjourned. That's the end of that point. So we'll go on to our draft 2024 calendar. It looks like we've got the calendar here on our desk, and it looks like we're meeting every third Thursday. Is it still at 5:30 next year?
It's up to you guys. So right now that has been our traditional. If you guys want to stick with that, we can.
Okay.
It hasn't run into problems as to going too late as the number of files. So if you want to play it by ear, you can. If you want to leave it at 5:30, that's fine.
Anybody care to change from 5:30 to another time? Flexible.
Are we just doing it's the third Thursday? First and
Just the third Thursday right now.
third. Okay.
So the red dots or the
I'm good with that.
okay. So are there any other dates here that do not work for at least the majority of the group as you're looking? I know we're talking the next, 15 months from now, potentially.
Looks good.
Off the top of my head. My kids are married now.
Oh, that's great. No more weddings in the future. So I think the planning commission took off the 2nd because it's right after the New Year's Day. So January 2nd, they're going to cancel that meeting. So I don't think there's any other ones that are around holidays. The holidays on this are marked under the gray, I believe.
February 4th. That's tough because it's Valentine's.
If you want to move it to a different day, I'm more than willing to accommodate. So we try to get this scheduled and published by like November, so just so we put it on our website. I got the digital version. We put it on our website. The red boxes, the dark red boxes, are the commissioner ones that they've canceled. So that's what's going on there. So you think we have the planning commission, you guys, the board, a holiday schedule and all that. So we're trying to at least get a pretty good idea so the public has a good understanding as how often and when you guys are going to meet. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
I don't need a motion for this. It's just a planning department document we're going to publish. So I just wanted to review to make sure that at least we'd have a quorum for each of these meetings we have scheduled. So.
Okay, we can move on to the third point then, which is a conversation about file S223. Now, I was not present for that file, and I have not reviewed it since our last hearing. Facilitated. Maybe we can start with a brief discussion of what the file was. Subdivision over.
Yep.
Providence Road.
Yeah, so it's a Providence Road subdivision. It's file S2-23. It was first heard by the hearing examiner, who made a recommendation that the zoning commission make or per chapter 6 of title 12. You guys can't make a decision on preliminary plats for subdivisions. You can only make a recommendation to the board. So that hearing is a recommendation. I think it was a 3-1 vote because there were 4 people in attendance. The board then held a hearing and approved it on a 2-1 vote. Like I said, that decision was just over 2 weeks ago. Today's Thursday. It was Monday 2 weeks ago. So the decision letter went out Tuesday 2 weeks ago. We got the reconsideration within the 14-day timeline. So now it's up for the board to reconsider their decision.
How did that reconsideration come about?
So someone that's an affected party, this comes out of LUPA and then Title 12, Chapter 2, there's a reconsideration, statute, ordinance it's essentially a copy paste from LUPA that says within 14 days of a final decision of the board, an affected party can request a reconsideration of the board of that final decision. So that's that. The board has a process that they're going to follow on whether or not they're going to hold a reconsideration hearing. So
How do you determine an affected party?
So there's a lot of legalese around the affected party. So it doesn't really involve your guys' review of this, but if you want, I can find that statute
I'm
and send it
just
over to you.
curious, like,
Yeah,
you know,
typically it's
to get
like,
something to qualify.
it is usually if you're within that 300-foot radius, if you were noticed,
That's what I would.
right? So it could be like I'm affected due to traffic, or
When I
they have
drive
to,
through there.
yeah, they have to raise,
Yeah, it could be.
yeah. So that's like the first threshold at a judicial review is the affected party truly affected? So it's up to the court to really determine. So the mover of that, so the person that's applying to the court, they have to state their claim to how they're affected. And
Is this person, is it a government entity or just an individual?
no, it was the HOA, the Seven Sisters HOA,
Oh, okay.
that I believe that's where we got it from. So
what's the procedure for the commissioner meet, the next hearing?
again, that's not what we agendized for your guys' review today, but typically they hold a discussion in executive session under pending litigation, because the next step then is litigation. They then,
Executive session, means they go into a room without a public viewing.
yeah, it'll be this room with that door closed.
Is there
That's
any
it.
sensitive topics
Yep.
for discussion? Sure.
Yep. And then they'll discuss it. It's really a legal matter. So the reconsideration is reviewed by planning staff and legal. And we determine if there's a legal argument based on the arguments presented in the reconsideration. We discuss that with the board. And if they agree or disagree, they can then move to hold a hearing or not hold a hearing. They can leave it as it is and let it sit. And after 60 days, the decision stands. So if they decide not to respond at all, so they have a handful of different options ahead of him. And
It
then
seems like it'd be,
then the moving party, the ones requesting reconsideration, have, I believe, 28 days to file for judicial review. So, yeah.
Okay, now the file was a subdivision, not an MLD, minor land division.
Oh yeah,
Not a
short plat.
but a full subdivision. We don't see very many of those.
Not at this scale. A subdivision by our code is defined as any division of property that results in 10 or more lots, or sorry, 11 or more lots. This was 116, so
Okay.
it had full services, both from water and sewer services on a municipal level. So the lot size was reduced down to 10,000 square feet in the suburban zone. So it had it had a lot of detail into it. I think that staff report was 48 pages or something like that. So
Okay, so
no, we
116
don't.
lots over 48, 39.
Yeah. So
That's a lot of lots.
we had another subdivision out in Old Town that was like between 40 and 60 lots. So that was the next biggest one that we had processed in the last few years. This was definitely by far the biggest. So
Well, the points of contention must have been the obvious ones, a ton of new houses just outside of Kootenai.
mhm.
People driving through.
In the city of impact.
Within the area of city impact, right.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight and
Sure.
see if staff could enlighten us a little bit about that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm the reason why we're having this meeting. 'Cause I
Yeah.
want,
You want to discuss
The
it?
area of city impact is a funny fuzzy area because
apparently,
like when we did an
Doesn't
MLD
mean
one
anything.
time, we waited on paperwork from the city of Ponderay, I think it was, to basically sign a piece of paper that didn't mean anything. They
Yeah.
couldn't tell us not to do it, they just had to acknowledge it and then we got our minor
Yeah.
land division. What was your question about area of city impact?
well, I just want to, first of all, I want to state that I have the most respect for staff, and Swati is, incredible. I mean, I wouldn't want to come up against her, but, and there's no doubt that this subdivision met all the criteria for county land use. But I was confused a little bit about the city of impact. I thought that Kootenai should have had a lot more to say about it, but apparently they don't.
So let's talk ACIs in like a general term then.
Okay.
So the cities have an opportunity to petition the county government to say, hey, inside this ACI, I want X, Y, and Z to apply, right? So there are cities out there that have specific ordinances that within the ACI apply to development. So if the cities are concerned about development inside their area of city impact, which is a defined geographic area, right? They can petition the county government for specific conditions. It is a debate and it is a a back and forth with the county commissioners because they don't have to approve it. It's not like there has to be an agreement between the two. The county commissioners are the ones that ultimately decide what applies inside the ACI. So
Not the city.
no, the
county
city can
commission.
ask, the county decides.
Because it's county land, but it's
Yep.
Yeah,
adjacent.
but it's adjacent. to the
But
city.
in a perfect world, they work a little bit together.
Yeah, so
they-
ours are pretty bare bones. Every one of our ACI agreements is essentially the same that says, we'll notice you of any land development, so conditional use permits, subdivisions, and you have 40 days to reply, to more or less provide a comment. There's nothing in there that says we have to listen to or follow your guidance or your requests. Take sidewalks, for example. Let's say if the big concern is sidewalks, or let's take a less one that's less close to home. ADUs, like an ADU code. Ours is 900 square feet and 2 bedrooms. If the city has a 500 square feet and 1 bedroom as the max, they could petition the county to say, hey, we want our code to apply and here's why, because we want less nonconformity as the city grows through the ACI. And that could be a good justification. And then the county says, yay or nay, we agree with you, we don't agree with you, and whatnot. So, and they can do that with any one of their standards and their ordinances. So this land division actually was an approved subdivision back in 2007, 2009 era. So some time ago,
The same plat.
the exact same property, similar size,
Different plat.
yeah, different plat, different people. I think that after the recession, I think
Lot
that,
less
yeah,
lots.
it changed hands. So it's not like it was unheard of that this property would be developed. So the city did have an opportunity for years to petition the county government to apply specific standards if that's what they were concerned for. So that's one argument you could make around the ACI, but there's nothing in our code nor the ACI agreement right now that requires land to be inside the city limits to be developed. So there's not a legal argument from the county side to say we're denying this because it's too high density near the city, you have to get into the city. Like, to us, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen against the county for denying it for a more or less an improper reason.
Could the city of Kootenai go into the county and say, we want to request that if they're going to have this many lots, that they join or be annexed to the city? Could they ask the county to do that?
Not after the application's in.
No.
Yeah, the application is vested in the ordinances at the time they apply.
Oh, the rules of the ACI are established, and then people conform to those rules afterwards. Now,
Yeah.
the city can't come running it afterwards and say, hey, we don't like this.
Yep.
Okay.
You can't, so if someone applies and say, let's say 12 properties get together and there's a 400 lot subdivision, a similar circumstance, the city can't come crying to the county saying, oh, let's change the agreement now that this huge impact is going to happen.
That's similar.
It has to be proactive, not reactive, right?
Conforming sizes.
Yep. Yeah. So that's some kind of discussion. We understand the ACI and how it works now a little bit better.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, ours are pretty bare bones. Like if you look at Valley County and City of McCall, that's a pretty good example of what an ACI agreement could be like with the county, because they have some specific City of McCall standards that happen or that apply within the ACI. And it took a lot of joint effort between the city and the county. So that's one. There are some state statute, like House bills over this last legislative period that would have reduced the ACI over time. I'm guessing that those same House bills are going to get, they didn't pass yet. So I'm guessing those will get applied for again and argued again this next legislative round next year. But right now we have the agreements we have. I think that House bill the idea is like your ACI can only be geographically like a mile, or maybe it starts at 3 miles and each year reduces down like automatically down all the way to no more than half a mile from the city limits or something along those lines. But again, that's still
Right.
pending if the legislator makes a change. Any changes to LUPA tend to take a lot longer than other stuff.
Anyway, one of the other concerns that I had, I was the obvious one voter that voted to deny it. I mean, here's my feeling about that is that, I mean, I think it's a good place for a subdivision, and we need more houses. But even though I felt that possibly they did meet all the title land use codes to be approved. But I think that personally, I think that this is a bad subdivision. You know, that's a personal opinion, and as a commissioner, can I vote on that? You know, is it okay to do that? You know, I mean, what if I was Bob was close to agreeing with me, and you know, and if we had one more without you being here, maybe you would have agreed with it. We might have denied it, but
the commissioners could still approve.
yeah,
Again, yours is only a recommendation.
it's only a recommendation. But
I would, a more defensible argument when approving or denying land use files is your interpretation of ordinance. So if staff, if our interpretation of the ordinance is different than yours, then you have to argue the point of, this is why this ordinance applies, and this is my reading and my interpretation, how it differs from staff's analysis.
Okay.
And that
So-
would be like, you know, the safety feature. You could argue,
Yeah,
you could
well-
argue something like that, like.
one of my biggest things was one way in, one way out, and then they came up with this gated easement.
Mhm.
Um,
And that actually,
But that's just horse, right? Because all that is a city, and you know.
I know,
As
but-
soon as
The commissioners weighed in on that. I listened.
they did.
to
And
the hearing.
after your guys' hearing,
Yeah.
the city actually granted the easement access to the
I can't
fire
restrict
access.
it.
I know.
oh, so it wouldn't be a gated.
Can you imagine
It
somebody
is a
comes
gate
to
still,
town,
but it has,
people
essentially,
die.
it's like a Knox box gate where fire access has, I mean, it's a fairly common practice with land divisions and fire access points.
But I
so-
think it's,
Not
you know,
just tonight.
yeah.
There's one
I just think that it's not a safe
Yeah.
situation. I mean, you know, you got 100 homes in there, and there's a wildfire going down Providence Road, and that's blocked.
Yeah, I would be suing everybody in that
So,
760
You know,
subdivision.
You know,
If-
that's
if-
just one thing. I mean, there was a bunch of things that I thought it was a bad subdivision.
Well, and the traffic issue.
The traffic
The
issue.
dated information on traffic, that was part of my problem too. Sounds like it's going to be addressed at some point by the state. I felt better about that.
I think it's a shame. I mean, you know, I drove through after we had that meeting. I drove through the Seven Sisters subdivision, and that's a pretty nice subdivision, I think. And it, you know, the kind of road curves around, and they planted trees. That's part of the Kootenai thing, that there's trees along the roadway, and there's nothing. You know, these guys wanted to do it as inexpensively as they possibly could and get as many lots as they could. They filled up the wetland with a cul-de-sac and a bunch of lots. I just think it was, I think they got away with something by meeting the code.
That just
but-
means they did it to the minimum, you know what I mean? Like,
I
they
know.
capitalized on their investment. Like,
You know,
that's what
and
happens.
we can't, and, you know, you can't force a developer to plant trees if
But
it's not in the
One of the
code.
nice things about our code is like, so like that goes over to the planning side, right? Like, that's where we, you know, the county, you know, if we want to live in a state where they mandate how many trees you have to put in sidewalks when you're building
We're in
in
a
the
city.
county.
Dover's a
I'm-
great place for
I'm-
people.
I'm- I know, but what I'm being,
Okay.
I'm being
Yeah.
a little bit like, I like our county because it is not Orange County. I
Right.
like our county because, you know, we do
You know,
have property rights. And I think that's what we have to uphold here. And yeah, developers are gonna probably do whatever they can, but one of the nice things is they're not gonna build on marsh. They can't, right?
Right.
They can't. Like,
Right.
they're gonna have to do it right either way. At the end
Yeah,
of the day,
no, they probably will, but I just think it's too dense.
it's a bummer that it's
It's-
maximized.
It's
Well,
maxed.
and,
Probably from your point of view.
So-
like,
And
like,
anyway,
if I'm on
but
their side, I'm like, yeah,
so-
that's great.
the point that I'm making is that if we all agreed on something that we didn't agree with the code,
The ordinance. we have
The
different
ordinance.
opinions
So-
on how it's
and
interpreted.
you know, we should probably get together and go to the planning
so
division
your,
and say, hey, we don't like the way the code's going in this way, you know, and gives them some input.
so
No.
your role is not legislative, but judicial.
Yeah.
Right, so county
follow the
commissioners wear both of those hats of judicial and legislative. The zoning commission by chapter 2 is to uphold the current code.
Yeah.
If you disagree with the interpretation, like I said, that's the legal stance to stand on. But if it's, I don't like the code and it shouldn't apply here, or I don't want to
Well,
apply
you
it
can't
here.
rule on a
Right.
file in that way.
Right.
Right.
So
But I'm just saying, if we all got together and, and I think it's good to have this discussion, because we can't do this without having a public hearing.
sure.
And, and maybe something will come up where we all get together and go, we all agree that the code needs to change. And we could write a letter or something to the planning commission.
I think that the
A
easiest thing
recommendation
to
or
agree
something.
on would be like.
But that's
for-
not our
for
job.
us, what our
Right.
job should be would be
But,
like,
but,
we disagree with the interpretation of a code.
Yeah.
Something would
Right.
be the thing, right? Not
Right.
be like, well, we want to see better planning over here,
Yeah.
Well,
so again,
I
like
mean-
your job is to uphold the codes we currently have.
Yeah.
I would say if you feel passionate about changing a code, it's not really the position of the zoning commission.
Mhm.
I would say individually write letters to the planning commission.
Right.
Or-
yeah,
or-
but if
or
we all
attend some-
as a group wrote a letter and signed it, not as trying to, we would individually, I mean, maybe we each have to write our own letter, I guess, then.
I would just say get involved with the planning commission as they write
Yeah.
the comp
Go to a
plan.
planning thing and.
Right. So
and-
we're rewriting the public services component right now, and it's in public comment. Natural resources is in a public comment period right now. We had all of 0 people from the public show up this last Tuesday. The meeting went till 8 o'clock at night. We started at 3. Like those, it's not like those are small, like quick meetings. They're long, thoughtful. A lot of deliberation by those guys. There's 7 of them on that board, right? On the planning commission. So, yes, I would say if you're worried about densification near cities, as the comp plan map gets amended, I would get very involved with that and say, hey, I want to see less of this, and here's my justification. And then it's up to them to make the recommendation to the board, and then the board makes a final decision on changes. So that's all done at the legislative level. A defensible argument, again, from you guys and your position on this zoning commission is your interpretation of law, right? Of the current ordinance. So if,
About 2 or 3 years ago. that
You
I-
better have a pretty good reason.
yeah,
Well, yeah. Well, I thought you did, actually. I mean, I felt my position, I mean, on safety, I wasn't sure it was meeting what you're talking about,
Right.
because of the light, access in and out of there, all that discussion. Now, in the end, it's recommended.
so you moved to ask staff to reach back out to ITD. The comment back from ITD was like, okay, we've done a more thorough review of this, and instead of just a right turn lane, we also require a left turn lane.
I saw
So
that.
it was actually a good
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sneeze here in a second. A good recommendation to staff because it added some additional safety features that help mitigate the impact, right?
Yeah, the commissioners recommended a bigger easement.
Mhm.
The other subdivision.
Yep.
60. So
Yep.
At least our recommendations or
Mhm.
our discussion. probably.
That brought up some.
And public.
Yeah,
testimony.
exactly.
And there was quite a bit of public testimony again.
There was a lot of- Good public testimony,
Yeah,
I
well, I
thought.
thought it was very, very polite, very correct.
I got a bottle for
And Jake did a good job as chairman,
They didn't like to
controlling
talk
the
about
meeting.
405.
Yeah, they credited it to Seattle. I was talking about LA.
So a couple of years ago, I bought a piece of land and I wanted to put storage units on it. And the code had this weird thing that said, you only have so much storage units per lot, per size of lot, right?
Oh, okay.
And so, in the zoning that we had, and so my business partner and I, we wrote a code amendment. Probably 30 words changed, maybe 20 words changed in the code. Were you here when we did this?
I actually processed that one.
Okay.
It was my
So-
first one with the county.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just
So
started.
It cost us $400.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a request for our project. It changed
Changed the code.
Yeah.
And the process was like super simple. I don't think we even came to a planning or zoning commission.
Yeah, it went to
Who did
P
you
and Z.
apply?
Oh, it did,
for that?
okay.
It went to P and Z.
Apply to for
The
that?
county, they have a
County?
form.
Yeah.
And it's on their list of fees. Like if you want a flat application for a code amendment, it's $400.
It's 2,500 now.
Yeah.
Well,
Because of you.
we had two other text amendments that took a significant amount of staff time to process. So
My word, then.
we took it by average, the average amount of time, and then we look at how much it actually costs. So we had
So
we had two more that were pretty
My
significant.
point
So
is though that when cooler heads can prevail and you come up with something simple like, let's modify the code in these 3 places, these very simple ways, it becomes kind of a sales pitch now to the commissioners. Say, hey, I think the county would be better if we made these little adjustments here. What do you think? And the feedback that we got was like, oh yeah, that's
Makes
weird.
sense.
Why is it this way? Yeah, let's do that. And it was over with, you know?
Yeah,
You're lucky.
any private person.
yeah, any
public can-
citizen of the county. Yep.
Yeah.
Can apply for that as well. Obviously, the fee's a lot greater now, but yeah, every once in a while, we make that suggestion to people that walk into the office.
Yep. Every now and again, you get some people coming in that want to change the code. So, and that's fine. It's their prerogative, right? It usually benefits them in some way, right? There's
Yeah,
mini
of
storage or
course.
whatnot. So,
But I
but
wonder why, like, some of these, we have these little groups that have started over the last few years in Warren County that are pushing for one agenda in terms of planning or another, right?
sure.
And I sit here and wonder sometimes why those groups don't get together and say, hey, here's what the code says. Let's just ask for the change in some small, sensible ways. Right, exactly. Like, get your emotions out of the way and get to work, right? That's.
Well, yeah, like the whole subdivision, the breakpoints at 11, right? At
Mhm.
11.
Yeah.
Here we are with 116. You'd think you could come up with some other ideas for different breakpoints,
Sure.
more categories, different specifications for different amounts of structures.
And as staff, we work directly for the board, and then we are kind of advisory to you guys and to the planning commission, right? So we take some marching orders, if you will, as you guys say, hey, I want you to reach out to so-and-so and get me information about this so I can make a better decision. So that's like planning commission, when they're adjusting stuff, they give us, so we guide them through different processes and they give us some specific tasks to work on, or say, hey, go refine this, meet with these people and refine this stuff. So oftentimes especially over the last year or so, the only changes I've been making are to add consistency throughout the code. So minor changes. I've processed, I think, 3 or 4 minor changes to the code. Nothing that's been drastically sweeping, only because I haven't gotten direction from the board in this last 10 months that says, here's a problem we've identified, go fix this, right? So
Because when the county changes the code, that doesn't cost $2,500.
Right.
It's your job to make it better. right?
Exactly.
But you don't have a position in those cases as somebody who would be impacted. You're just an employee of the county.
So I don't take it upon myself to say, okay, this is the big problem that I see and I'm going to go solve all these things. So if the board, if we get together and they say, hey, we want to get rid of X, we want to add this type of use, right? I'm working on one use right now that I'm considering adding to the code as a specific standard, and it's only due to the impacts I'm seeing through some applications. So, and I'm going to have that discussion with the planning commission, and we'll figure out if they agree with me or not.
Just to clarify, just because always the public doesn't know, right? So just to clarify, the process though is still the same, whether the
right.
applicant is the county or the applicant is a citizen. The process is still the same. It still has to go to planning. They make the recommendation, it goes to the board. So just so.
Yeah.
Some people think
There's
Jake
a box.
makes this decision on his own, and then it becomes part of the
A thing?
ordinance.
No.
It's still the same process, just the applicant's different.
Anyways, so yes, the citizens, groups of people, they can petition to have the code change. You're absolutely right. I haven't seen a city ever do that. I don't know if that would be a good position for them to be in, but the city has control over requesting changes to their ACI like we discussed. So any other discussion regarding that S2 file you guys have? Or questions for staff? So the final staff report turned out even longer than the one you guys got.
Well, we basically had 2 staff reports because we had
Yeah,
one
hearing
from
examiner, yeah.
had one from the
So-
hearing examiner,
yeah.
and it was different from the one we got.
Yeah, so we added even more detail as Swati had more time to work on it. So she put a lot of time into that report. I think the decision letter was like 17 pages or something, 15 pages. So very detailed. We put that as a gold standard as the new subdivision standard. So we'll refer back to it in the future.
I mean, I think it's helpful to have this type of discussion every once in a while. Basically, we're all volunteers. We haven't had any training at all.
Yep.
We had one meeting with the lawyer.
Sure.
And you gotta read the code
Robert
and
wasn't
figure.
there, and Jake Weimer wasn't there.
You're right.
Yeah, I had a separate meeting.
Yeah, he had a
That's what we
special
did.
meeting,
I
yeah.
did actually meet.
But I mean, we,
On ex parte.
so that was my question. It's like, if we disagree, I understand now how to disagree is object to the code or
Yep.
interpretation going up on that.
And
But-
as
I
your
think you can go right to the, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jake, you can go right to like this
deny.
findings of fact.
Yeah.
I think it's the findings of fact that you can go to and say, this finding of fact you have a problem with, and there, you're obligated not
Yeah.
to vote in favor of the
right
file.
findings of fact lead to the conclusions of law.
Okay.
The conclusions lead to an approved deny, right? So that's like
So
your
if you
flow
read
of
the deny sometimes, and
Yeah.
then look at the findings and conclusions, you can be like, well, I
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just like the findings of facts agree or not, you guys are also able to add findings of facts if you think something's in the way.
Or to bolster an argument if you think it's missing that would support the decision, right? So brush up on the conditional use permit process. You have next month we have it'll be November. So you have, I think, 3 zone files.
Next month is November.
Yeah, next month, sorry, just it'll be December. So there's a conditional use permit that was recommended or that was sent to you guys from the hearing examiner. It was a pretty big one. There's a lot of folks in the meeting. And that'll come before you guys in a couple months. We're going to iron out more additional details with the applicant. There's I think 3 zoning files, zone change files for next month. And then that, the one you continued, Helms, the fence guy.
Yes,
Yes, so he's back on the agenda for next month. You gave him the 9 months to build the fence, so.
that takes about 2 minutes.
I don't know if the fence is built.
No, I've not seen one there. We can check that in a while.
I see a berm.
Did you ever find out anything about that
Can I get going?
on Clark Fork River?
I sent you the reply to that. Yeah, I forwarded you.
What exactly was it?
Let's chat after the meeting. So that's just a compliance base. Yeah, yeah, we figured it out. So-
Okay.
and they came in and they chatted with us.
Oh, they did?
Mhm.
It's big what they're doing there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Hey, yeah, the time is.
I don't check my Bonner County email as often as I should.
Okay.
Welcome to the party.
Got one spot.
I just wait,
I didn't know I had one.
I just wait till the Friday before the next meeting. And I don't even look at the email, I look
my,
at
my last thing is,
agendas.
as you're reviewing files, if you have questions for staff, you can always ask staff those questions before the hearing. And oftentimes, if it's an email form, we could send the reply to all the commissioners so that everyone's on the same page. So just kind of a heads up. What you don't want to do is a site visit. Don't go on site.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Don't do a site visit. Please don't visit
Learn
the
that.
site. Right. So that's like a big no-no. It's a
And we
big,
can't
easy
talk
hand slap.
With each other.
Yeah, you shouldn't discuss it with each other or with
But I
other
can go to
people.
the staff and talk.
You can stop by, chat with us. You can call us and chat with us, and we can like, hey, why is the code interpreted this way, or why didn't this apply? We can help enlighten you, or if you disagree, then you can craft up your points in disagreement. So
Time is 6:09 PM. This hearing is adjourned until November 16th.